Okay guys, we're going to work on a constructor for the first time. This is going to be very similar to the um, employee class that we just finished. And this time we're working in Eclipse. Um, we're going to make a car and a car driver program. I've already done it once, so let me quickly delete these. And again, the major difference here is we're working with a constructor for the first time. So let me go ahead and in my default package create a new Java class. We're going to call it car, and create some instance variables for the car class. And the instance variables are going to be a int called year model. A private variable is a string that holds a make, and a private int that holds a speed. So our car has 3 bits of information that we're storing about it, and the new thing that we're doing here is the car constructor, which is a public method that has the same name as the class. Notice here it is a method with the same name as the class. And this car constructor is going to accept 2 arguments. This constructor will accept an integer for the year, separated by a comma, and a string for the make. And we're going to initialize these 3 instance variables whenever we create an instance of the car class using this 2 argument car constructor. So we're going to set the year model equal to year that's passed into the car constructor. We're going to set the make equals the value that's passed in as a string for m, and we're going to set the speed, and we're going to initialize the speed to 0 for every car. Then we're going to write our standard accessor methods, and these are going to be the methods that retrieve the values in our private variables. So we're going to have a public method that has an integer return type called get year that returns the year model. We have a public method that returns a string called getMake that is going to return the make, and a public integer called getSpeed is going to return the speed variable. Now those are your standard accessor methods. We'll go ahead and collapse those, collapse that, collapse our constructor, and now we're going to write some methods that perform calculations. And the first one we're going to modify the speed variable. So we're going to write a public method that has no return type that will accelerate. And accelerate is going to take the current value of speed and increase it by 5. So speed equals speed plus 5. And then we're also going to have a public void break method that will decrease the speed. So we'll get the current value of speed and decrease it by 5. So we have a new constructor here. Again, this is the new thing we haven't seen yet, and this takes place in this instance of our mutator methods, because we're going to set these values when we instantiate a car. Let me go ahead and create a driver for the car class. No pun intended there. Class will be called car driver. And since it is a driver class, it needs a main method. And the first thing we're going to do is create car. We'll call it my first car is a new car. Now notice, if we do like we did before, this errors out because now our car class has a constructor that accepts a year and a make. So my first car was a 1994. So the first value passed in is a year. The next one we have to pass in is a string for the make. It was a Jeep Cherokee. Now if we want it so that we can create a car, and don't do this, but this is a quick example. If we want to say car, my second car equals new car, and we want it, and we want it to be able to accept the no arguments, we have to go back into the car class, and since we wrote our own custom constructor, we also have to write a no arg constructor, public car, like so. Now notice there's no more errors, right? But this car would not be initialized with any values, whereas my first car was. So that's just something to kind of look forward to. Now we'll just go ahead and system out print line. My first car was a plus my first car dot get year plus let's say 1994 plus a space plus my first car dot get make. So if we demonstrate this real quick, there it is. My first car was a 1994 Jeep Cherokee. Wonderful. Now the program wants us to increase the speed by 5, and then then decrease the speed by 5 and print it out each time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a system out print line. Say the current speed is plus my first car dot get speed. Now since this is the first time, don't forget your semicolon. Since this is the first time it's running, it should say the speed is 0, because that's what we initialized it to in our constructor. Notice here 1994 was passed into the year variable, and the year variable was assigned to the instance variable. So year model would equal the year value that was passed in this case 1994. Same for the Jeep Cherokee. Jeep Cherokee was passed into the M string, and the make was assigned the value that's in the M string, which was a Jeep Cherokee. So that's how that works. We'll print this out. My first car, It says the current speed is 0. Now watch what happens if we say my first car dot accelerate, and then print out the current speed again. Don't forget your semicolon. Hey, we went faster. And it said to do that 5 times. So that's once. Copy, Control C, Control V, paste, paste. 3, 4, 5. Now run it. Starting at 0, increasing 5 times, and then now we decrease. My first car dot break, and print out the current speed. So we slow it down. So we were going 25, now we're going 20. Copy. Now we're going 15. Now we're going 10, 5, 0. If I get that right, it should go up to 25 and back down to 0. There you have it. So what we just demonstrated was instantiating a car instance using the 2 parameter constructor, and this was output to the console window the car information, and this was performing simple calculations on the speed variable and displaying the results to the screen. One more time. Car information, increase and decrease.